Are we on? So I have to let people come on before I do anything because usually I start talking way too early and then I have a bunch of people that missed out on at least a quarter of the information. You're shaking the whole table. Please stop. Okay, you're shaking the video. Okay. All right, so obviously I haven't been on in a long time. I have a lot of stuff going on. It's not personal. It's not anything bad. Not anything terrible is going on. It's just that I have a lot of events. I have a photographer coming to my house tomorrow to photograph my life for an article that is going to come out this week. It is going to reach 500,000 people. I am going to be speaking at an event called Recovery Out Loud, which is going to be reaching up to 15,000 people, as I've been told. And there's a couple other things I'm going to be doing as far as working with a group that's going to have a walk in Pennsylvania. I'm going to Arizona. Arizona, and I'm going to Florida. I'm all over the place, and I'm tired. So, yes, obviously I'm not on here all the time, but I'm going to try to do more videos. By the way, as soon as spring hits, I'm going to be doing more interviews with people that are in recovery from addiction, people that have been around somebody who is in addiction and they want to tell their story of what the secondhand exposure was like. And I'm also going to talk to people about mental health and people that have overcome really traumatic obstacles. It doesn't just have to be about recovery. So if you're somebody who's had a pretty crappy life and you got through it and you're doing pretty good, that's okay. We can talk about that. Hi, Gretchen. Hi, guys. All right, you're still shaking the table one way or another. You just shake the table. Sorry, my boyfriend's still shaking the table. He just has to literally walk around here and he shakes the table. Hi guys, how you doing, Gretchen? By the way, you're awesome. So I know, like, I did that Miss Jet Set competition and I posted about 900,000 times. I'm sure that was really annoying. It was really annoying for me too. Personally, I do find it to be a scam because what happens is they make a crap ton of money from you buying votes. So somebody that is on Miss Jet Set, that's, basically trying to win for the $50,000 or the $25,000, yes, they get that money. But each person, if they pay for a vote, that's $1 per vote. So they're making a lot of money. They're making a crap ton more than what you're putting out. So yeah, it was fun and all. I'm just saying that in the scheme of things, yes, a part of that does go to a charity, but they also make a lot of money off it. And for all you know, the person that wins each year is like already entitled to win. You really don't know. So I was kind of thinking about that the other day because I was actually like, how come any of these girls can just buy votes and it's not fair? And I was mad because, like, I don't want to have somebody buy my votes for me to win a competition. I think they should all be, if you get enough votes, you win. All right, so let's talk. All right, hi, Gretchen. I think you're beautiful. Thank you. I had a terrible day today. It was actually pretty good, but I had a really bad anxiety attack, like riding back in the car because my boyfriend didn't feel good in the car and he kept making me feel paranoid like I had carbon monoxide poisoning. I know it sounds terrible, but I kept thinking I was smelling something bad in the car and it gave me really bad anxiety, and that sounds ridiculous. So I'm driving back and I'm thinking, like, is there really a leak in my car? Because I've never smelled anything coming out of my exhaust or anywhere like that or in my air conditioner. So why would there be a leak in my car? And I got really, really anxious and like almost had an entire anxiety attack over something that isn't real. So that puts into perspective what our mind can do and how our mind can trick us, especially if you have anxiety or depression. I'm going to answer some of the questions that I have that are sent to me, and then if you guys want to ask them as you're going, you can put your questions in on here. If you have any questions about anything at all that you want to talk about, put them in here. We'll talk about them. If you just want somebody to talk to while I'm live, we'll talk about it. Put your stuff out there if you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable typing something on here on live, you can message me. I try to get back to most people. Just don't make it an excuse to hit on me. That's all I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, it happens. People are like, hey, I'm going to relapse, but I want you to take me to rehab, and that's the only way I'm going to go. That's not how this works. I don't work like that. I am not a rehab. That is what I'm going to say. I help people, basically I answer their questions. I talk to them about recovery. I talk to them about my path and what I've done to find some sort of success, and everybody is different. So take everything with a grain of salt. Don't just listen to what I say and go run off with it, okay? All right, so I'm looking at my questions here. So the first question that somebody sent to me is, my boyfriend seems to be using, but I can't catch him. How do I catch him, and how do I know he's using? He makes me feel stupid when I accuse him of doing it. So, obviously, a lot of you have been there before. You've either dated somebody, been friends with somebody, had a parent, sibling that was using, and maybe you weren't, so you didn't really know how to approach them. This is something I went through with my little sister that died, and it was terrible. It was horrible. It was like every time I would try to confront her about her addiction, she would be so defensive that even if I wasn't talking about her using or dabbling, she would immediately come after me and get mad at me. And that was something that was really, really hard on me, because here my relationship with my little sister was very strong. We loved each other. We fought a lot, but that's what sisters do. And we really looked out for each other. So when she came at me like this and was so defensive when I would ask her questions, it made me feel like I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was basically, it was hopeless for me. I felt like she was either going to die, she was going to overdose, something bad was going to happen, and I had no control over the situation. And that was how I felt, being her sister that was fairly close to her. So when I would ask her questions, I would try to word them in a way that was sensitive. But the thing was, I would then end up telling my mom. This is what would happen. I would tell my mom, hey, I think my sister's using, I think she's doing this. And my mom would say, just give her a chance. Just believe in your sister. Stop accusing her of things. But the problem was, I was sincerely worried she was doing it. I really knew what was happening. I had her phone and I read her messages at one point. So like, I knew what was going on. I had solid proof that she was using. It wasn't like I just came up with this. Like, as a recovering addict, in any means, you know if somebody is doing something they're not supposed to, and you know if they're using hard drugs or they're acting like their old selves. You can see it, you can smell it, you can feel it. It's like in the air. So when my sister was doing that, it was really hard on me to have to try to approach her and my mom and try to figure out what was the best solution. I'm going to tell you, first off, it is not your fault. Things go the way they're going to go sometimes, and you can't always help it. It doesn't make you a bad parent, a bad sibling, a bad friend if you don't know how to approach them. The point is, if you have approached them, if you've taken the time to think about them and be an emotional support for them, at the end of the day, if they do overdose and something happens to them, don't put that guilt on your head, because it is not your fault. It is their fault. They ultimately made that decision to use. Obviously, addiction is a disease of the mind. It's a psychological thing, and there is, the body being addicted to the drugs as well. But the thing with the head, everybody gets all crazy on drugs and they don't think straight. So it is their decision still at the end of the day. You didn't force them to use. So don't feel bad if something happens to someone that is using. If you're trying to confront them and they're someone you really, really love, I'm going to tell you that no matter how much you love them, no matter how much you want to be with them, no matter how much you think you can save them, 9 out of 10 times you cannot, okay? If you keep threatening them like, hey, you got to go to rehab or I'm going to leave you, all that's going to happen is they're going to go to rehab again and again and again and again and again until something really bad happens and you're stuck in the crossfire. Because a lot of times these people just are not ready yet. Now, yes, you can have them sent to rehab. Yes, you can threaten them. Yes, you can use tough love and you can use enabling love. You can do it all. I'm just saying that when it happens like that, if somebody really doesn't want to get better, they're not going to until they have that epiphany. Now, I do think that going to treatment and getting offered the treatment and pushed to go is a good thing, because that gets it that time away from the drugs so that they can kind of get a clearer mind and decide how to become a better person and what they actually want to do. Because you got to think, somebody on drugs obviously isn't ready to make the decision to stop using because they're on it. The only thing that is making them think that they want to stop doing it is that they hate to have to keep doing it, and they hate to have to do things they don't want to do in order to do it. They know that you're hurting you. They know they're hurting you. They know they feel bad. They just don't want to feel the guilt. So at the end of the day, if you don't know how to approach them, then I would say be loving, be caring, be an emotional support for them, but don't feel like it's your fault. And sometimes tough love is better for you, because you do not want to make it easy for them to use drugs. You don't want to make it easy for them to keep doing things like smoke crack and shoot heroin. You do not want to make that easy for somebody. And if they're lying to you, it is a problem. Everybody lies that's on drugs. They tell their boyfriend, girlfriend, oh, I'm not. But eventually it's going to come out. And when it does, they're going to really need the emotional support. But you have to take care of yourself first. So that's what I'm going to tell you is take care of you. You know, do a lot of research on addiction. Make sure you look some stuff up. Look up the signs, all that stuff, and it'll help you. And definitely get into Al-Anon and some support groups. All right. Hi, Rondi. I love you. My next question. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone who wasn't also in recovery while you've been sober? I find it difficult to try and explain what I've been through to a normal girl. Well, this is something that I've thought about several times. Okay, so my boyfriend now is in recovery. He's been in recovery for a solid year over almost, and he's doing very well. Previous to that, I dated somebody who was in recovery for a couple months and then fell off the wagon numerous times, and this was tremendously hard. I mean, harder than if I had dated somebody who was normal and didn't understand. At that point, I wish that I would have dated somebody who was normal and didn't understand versus the person that did and was consistently relapsing every 2 months. I mean, honestly, you would go off the deep end and end up on a crack binge and then end up back in rehab every 2 months. And now he's doing good from what I hear because I'm not with him. Maybe I made him crazy. Who knows? But at the end of the day, yes, some people are not going to see you in the light that you feel is the same, but you have to get rid of that boundary that you're not willing to date people out of your comfort zone. Because here's the thing, if you keep swimming in the same little pond, you're just going to keep picking out the same type of fish. You have to kind of dig into you have to go into the ocean and just look at people for who they are and not just whether they've lived the same life as you. Because I guarantee that everybody has been through some traumatic experiences in their life. They've had anxiety, depression, mental health. You can relate to them. It's just maybe you have to explain to them, like, listen, I can't drink because I'm an alcoholic and I can't drink. Or I can't smoke pot because if I smoke pot, I do other things. Like, those are things you might have to explain to somebody who's not in recovery because maybe they don't understand. Maybe for them, that's a casual thing that they don't understand why that would hurt you as an addict. But some people, everybody has their own limits. And a lot of people that aren't in recovery they don't surpass a line. You know, they go and they have a couple drinks and they go home and they're okay. They don't drink and drive. They don't rob people. They don't steal from people. That's normal. That's a normal person that can do things normally. The chemicals in their brain are completely normal compared to like somebody who's an addict whose serotonin and dopamine cuts it off at a certain point to where you literally just keep trying to get more and more because there's not enough. So we have a different kind of brain chemistry, especially with the different types of things. Addiction is just a side effect of the problem. So like the drugs are a symptom. That's not the actual problem. The actual problem is like an internal thing where we deal with mental health, and that's where the addiction spurs from. So if you're somebody who's like in recovery, you want to break those patterns. And if you're someone who has dated recovering addicts while in recovery and you notice you're having a bad, like experience with that, maybe it's time to go outside your comfort zone and just be upfront and honest right in the beginning. Be like, listen, I'm in recovery. I used to have a problem. You don't have to go way into detail. You don't have to tell them your criminal history right off the bat. Just tell them, look, I got into some trouble or I had some issues here. Can you please respect that? If that's something you can't deal with, then let's just stop this relationship right where it is. Because you don't want to be with somebody who can't accept you for how you are or support you for what you have to be supported with. And at the end of the day, two addicts dating each other is one of the most dangerous things you can do to yourself, is date another recovering addict. Because if they fall off, the chances of you falling off with them skyrockets to 900, and then if they die, the chances of you falling off skyrockets to 1,000. So either way, you're kind of screwed because a lot of people do relapse, and sometimes it's just a part of the process, but you don't want their relapse to be a part of your process. So I definitely say do the thing where they say wait at least 6 months if you just can't hold on any longer. Try to, and make sure you have a sponsor and you're like working a program, or you have some form of support system, because at the end of the day, if it's just you and that person and they're your life and you're both in recovery and one of you falls off, your life is gone. It's gone. Your whole support system's gone, and once they're on that bench, they're going to make everything look okay to you because they're all you have. So you have to be really careful about that. So I definitely think dating somebody that's not in recovery is fine. You just have to figure out a way to do it that makes you feel comfortable. You have to believe in yourself, understand you're a human, you're normal, there's nothing wrong with you, and that you are just as worthy of love as everybody else is, okay? All right, I gotta read my next question. Okay. What are the signs that somebody is abusing their pain medication? Okay. So, some of you out there might be prescribed pain medication. Obviously, that is what caused a lot of problems right now. Obviously, Big Pharma lied to us and said it wasn't addictive, and now a whole bunch of people ended up with addictions. Just because you're addicted to a substance doesn't necessarily mean you're an addict. There's two different things going on there. The person that has a physical addiction is somebody who is built to tolerance. They're relying on the substance. If they don't take it, they're going to go into withdrawal. Now, if you take that medication away from that person, what happens after that kind of describes if they're an addict or not. If they run out and go rob a pharmacy to go and get some pain medicine, they might be an addict. If they walk down the road and they're like, hey, I feel like shit, and then they get over it and they move on and don't think about it again, then yeah, they're probably not an addict. So there's a lot of different things that go into this. This doesn't necessarily mean, it's not necessarily going to say this is not a test as to whether you're an addict or not. But a lot of people abuse their medication and don't know it. That's actually how the opioid epidemic got so big, is because people would build a tolerance to these substances such as Vicodin, Percocet, fentanyl patches. I mean, I watch this every day because I pass all of these medications, and it's kind of sickening because I watch people literally ring their bells for a pain pill to go to bed. And it's sad because these people obviously are older, they're at the end of their life, and that's okay. But I kind of feel like I'm just feeding these people's addictions, and it actually hurts me a little bit sometimes. But it's life, and they're in pain, and they have justifiable pain. It doesn't mean we have to just take away pain medication because some people abuse it. But you have to understand the risks that come with it and why this happened to America and other countries. So if somebody is taking double their prescription, say their pain is not going away, so they're taking 2, 3, that's obviously abusing their pain medication, but that's one of those situations where they might be in actual pain that's really bad. Sorry, I have to burp and I'm disgusting. So, anyways, I drink a lot of water. So, if they call their doctor and they're like, hey, I have a lot of pain, I need a different script, what can we do, how can we work on this? They do all the right things, they go to physical therapy. Obviously, they're not abusing in that situation, they have a lot of pain. Now, the person that eats their whole script in 3 days and shoves them up their nose, yeah, that's abusing a script. If you're taking a medication any other way than it's prescribed, that's abuse. And honestly, I get where some people are thinking they're saving money by doing it different ways, but in the long run, you shouldn't do that. That's not how the doctor prescribed it. I understand. I don't trust all doctors. I don't even trust a quarter of them, because I see how they can be, and I see how little they really know. They read from a book, they see a patient for 1 second, and then they're gone. They don't really care if they have 30 patients, It is what it is. They don't have that bedside manner that like nurses have and other medical professionals have. So yeah, I understand that, but the thing about it is some people don't realize that they're addicted to their pain medications. They don't realize they're abusing them, and they're not willing to take that step to say, hey, I might have a problem, because they're in a lot of pain. And I think that's why those people won't, because the pain is so bad and so real that they're deathly afraid of what the pain will be when they come off the medication. So if you're somebody who's dealing with that and you feel like you're addicted to pain medicine, or you feel like you're addicted to any kind of medicine, it can be anxiety medication like benzodiazepines, Xanax, Ativan, Valium, those types of things. Those are all addictive medications, and coming off them can kill you. You can die from coming off benzodiazepines or alcohol, because technically you can have a seizure and it can do a lot more to your body than you really want, to happen. So if you are in that situation and you decide that you want to come off those types of things, it's always better to go to a detox, talk to somebody, and make sure you do it the right way. I wouldn't do it at home if you don't have to. There's nothing wrong with accepting that your body has built a tolerance to something, and maybe it's time to come off it, or maybe it's time to wean down. And that's something, it's a talk you have to have with your doctor, because I'm not a doctor. Nothing I say is, really of that much medical value, because yes, I am a nurse, but I'm not a doctor, so it is what it is. Let me read my other questions. Also, if they're like buying the rest of their script off the street, then yeah, they have a problem, it's kind of like common sense. Are they acting like an addict? If you're somebody who you wait all week to get your script and you're like itching and you're sweating and then you get it and you like take a whole bunch of them, like that's addict mentality. If you're somebody who takes them as prescribed, as dosed, for your pain or whatever, yeah, that's okay for the moment being, but you don't want to be stuck on them forever. I've seen so many people without addictions go on pain medicine for pain, for a surgery, for a normal situation that you think would be safe, and their doctor doesn't say anything to them about addiction or anything, and sometimes they do, and they go on the medication anyways, and then a couple weeks down the road, they're asking for one over and over and over and over again, and they're saying, hey, I think I'm addicted to my medication, what do I do? And then they start asking the questions like, am I an addict? And that's where obviously, everybody's life takes a different turn if you are indeed an addict by nature. It's not necessarily that you always use drug. Addicts are like all addictive all over the place. Like I shop a lot. I don't want to admit how much I shop, but I have an immense shopping problem. I spend too much money on shopping. My bills are paid, no worries. But at the end of the day, I could save myself quite a lot of money if I didn't go shopping, and I know that I don't need to do that. And occasionally I buy like $10 or $15 in scratch offs too, but I really don't need to do that either. It's things like that like I know I have addictive behavior because they give you that good feeling that you want. So, all right, let me see the next questions. I'm looking. Oh, I have a cold and it's terrible. Matthew Stearns. I think this is awesome and a great tool to have. Peer advocates are a great resource for us addicts to have. Thank you for taking the time to just talk and be here for all of us. You're welcome. I know I haven't been on a lot, and I apologize. I really do. But it's hard because I feel like everybody has a lot to offer, and I wish I had more people to offer you guys their experience. Like, yes, obviously I've been through a lot. Yes, I've been through a lot of pain. I've been through a lot of grief. All my friends are dead, it feels like. I know it sounds really ridiculous, but like my best friend died. My other best friend died. A couple people that I was really, really close with died in the last year, and that was even funner, right? And then my sister died. So I'm kind of a mess. It's like all the people I really cared about are gone. And I still have a couple left. I have a couple best friends left. I have my boyfriend. I have my daughter. I have my mom. My grandma's still here. My grandpa's gone. So I am just one of those people who feels like there's a lot of good stories that could go out there. I feel like my story is valuable, but I want yours. So if you're watching this and like we've talked about you giving me a storyline or you coming on and talking for Breaking Chains, just think about it, because I know a lot of you feel like your story isn't important, but we all have experience to share that is so important to even maybe just one person. Like, I went to a million meetings, and at first none of them hit me right. I hated them, actually. I didn't like being there. I didn't like the people. I felt like I was in some weird, like, culty group. And eventually somebody, like, spoke to me that told my story, and it kind of hit me. I'm like, oh, there's my story. Oh my God, they were right, because they kept saying, keep coming back and you'll hear your own story. And I did, and I'm like, oh wow, this girl like sounds like me in the future. So the other day I spoke in Rochester, and I spoke to like 40 or 50 people. And this girl come up to me and she's like, I really don't like these meetings, but I heard you speak and I heard my story again. And like, I've been texting with her and like being a good sober support for her. But it was really nice because like she told me how like she really wasn't willing to make any changes until she heard her story. So it's kind of nice to be that person. But I feel like, obviously, I only have a limited amount to share. So I want more people to get involved with this. We're going to do more stuff. I know I've been making it all about me and doing a lot of like my speaking stuff. So it's been taking a lot of time from Breaking Chains. But that is where my heart is. My heart is in Breaking Chains. It's in my sister's memory. I miss her. I love her. And I think for me and my own, my own recovery itself, I think I need that to keep going. So it is what it is, but I definitely feel like you guys could help me to be better, to do more for the community. So if you want to get involved, definitely get involved. It doesn't have to be about recovery. Your story does not have to be about your addiction. It could be about somebody else's that was close to you, or it could be about an experience that you overcame that was really hard on you and traumatic, because other people need to hear it. They need to hear that they're not the only one going through some of these things, that they had someone that felt the same way. That's really important for people who feel like they're alone. Do you know how many times like I was in an abusive relationship and I felt so alone? Like I felt like I had to put on this fake face all the time, and there was like no amount of makeup that could cover up like the sickness I felt, and I couldn't just be this loving person enough to get rid of it. And I was like I was displacing all my problems with my ambition. I was using my ambition to cover up all the problems that I had. But in reality, I was just really, really suffering because I felt like a victim. And I don't like feeling like a victim. So it was hard on me. Okay, hang on. Okay, next question. So what if you're depressed because your girlfriend changed the name you agreed on for your child at the hospital and refused to put your name on the birth certificate? I don't know the situation. Okay, so I'm not going to give you a ton of advice here, but I'm going to say that a name doesn't matter. Let's start there. Your relationship with your child is what matters. So regardless of the name that is on the birth certificate, if you are a father to your child, you will always be a father to your child. If you are there, if you show your face, if you show up at the door and you take care of that baby, it does not matter if your last name is on the birth certificate, because eventually she may change her last name to yours if you are a faithful father. Now, I don't know what terms you're on with the mother of the baby, and I'm sorry. I'm sure that hurts. It would hurt me. It would hurt anybody I love if I did that to them. I understand it's painful, but right now, think about the baby. Just put the baby first, okay? And just think about how much you want to love your child, how much you want to be with them, and don't let this deter you from being a parent, because it's literally just a name, okay? At one point, I wanted my last name to be my daughter's last name, and I didn't do that, and I think I was with her dad at the time, and I still wanted it to be mine. So sometimes it's a power thing, sometimes things aren't working out, and that's why. But don't focus on the little things like that. I know it seems very big, and I know that it's a pride thing maybe, because that's your kid and you know that you want the world to know that's your child, and I would feel that way too, and I acknowledge your feelings, immensely, but just be a loving father. And that's all I can tell you, because at the end of the day, if you are a good father to that child and you are good to that child's mother, hopefully she will come around. But you cannot change her mind necessarily, but you can change your own, and you can decide how you react. Obviously, she makes her decisions about what she does and her things in life, and you make your own decisions. So just stick to being a good person and things will come around for you. I know it sucks and it hurts, but things hurt. People do things. We can't always force them to do things the way we want them to go. It is what it is, and it's so hard to just let go and let God take the wheel of whatever. It's really hard, I know. So you just got to let it go. It's out of your hands. Let it go where it's got to go, okay? I guarantee if you're around in your child's life, things will get better, okay? I'm sorry for the issue. I'm sure it hurts. PJ McTaggart. Is that how you say your name? Bree, you always have something to say that helps me somehow. I appreciate the work you do. You rock. Aw, that was sweet. Thank you, PJ. You rock too. Michael Sosa, I would love what you have to say. Amy Wells, very true. Suffering sucks. What's a good way to let go of past suffering when it comes to trauma when someone was abused? Oh my goodness, abuse is such a hard subject, and I don't want to give way too much advice on this one either, but I can go from experience. So I have been in a multitude of abusive experiences. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're all abusive relationships. I have just been in several abusive situations, some where I was the abuser, some where they were the abuser. I haven't always been perfect. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I have been this victim my whole life, because I haven't, okay? I obviously have done bad things in my life. Obviously, I can be pretty selfish. If you guys think I'm perfect, drop that idea, because it's not even close. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to fake like I am the best person in the whole world, because I am not. I'm not even close, okay? I am pretty messed up in the head. I have problems from here to China, and I'm just being honest. It is what it is. I'm pretty sick. But at the end of the day, I work on that, and I work on where I'm at every day so that I can get better, because I can't live like that anymore. That sickness inside me, I have to get it out, or it's just going to keep on rolling until I deal with the consequences of it. And I have anxiety attacks, I have depression, I have all that stuff. So my abusive relationships were kind of what was internally inside me in the physical realm. And what I mean by that is I was harboring a lot of sickness and a lot of guilt and a lot of anxiety and a lot of pain. So I would get in these really crappy abusive relationships without really knowing it in the beginning. You know, I didn't know that like this person was going to end up being toxic for me. I would just go where my heart just directed. It's like, all right, go there, you know? And I would just take to that person immediately, without really thinking about it, or even giving myself the chance to find somebody good for me. I would do that first, and I really didn't feel like I was worth much. And that's something that I didn't realize was going on in here, but it was going on in my heart and how I was acting. So when people would tell me, why are you in this relationship? Don't you care about yourself? You obviously don't love yourself. Obviously you think your worth is not that high if you're dating somebody that's doing that to you. I would hear that a lot. You let people step all over you. You let people use you and abuse you and take your stuff. And you let people just basically do whatever they want with you. And I've heard that several times from people that loved me and cared about me. And I didn't want to hear it. A lot of the times I would be like, no, I don't. I put my foot down. I'm in charge. I wear the pants. I used to say some stupid stuff that was just not true. And I would be in these situations and I would almost feel comfortable. It was like I was getting off on the chaos. And it was like I almost felt better being the victim. So for a long time, I had to stop and look at the situation for what it was and where my mistakes were too. I do not believe abuse is okay. I do not believe men or women should be hitting each other or abusing each other. If you're in a toxic relationship, you should really think about getting out of it, and the way to do it correctly with help. But you know, it's definitely not a good thing to be in a situation where you're being told that you're not worth anything, and you feel like you're not worth anything every single day. It's horrible, and it will definitely decrease your self-worth, even if you think you're fighting that. Even if you think you're telling them off like, no, I'm not. I'm a good person. I have this. I have that. Even if you think that that's going to keep building you up to fight with them over it, it's not. It's not building you up. It's actually tearing you down internally, and you become sicker and sicker and sicker. So when you finally get better and you let go of that person, when you finally do that, you go through this kind of like release, and it's really painful. And I think the most painful part is accepting your part in your abusive relationship, and accepting that you kind of did put yourself in that situation and that you felt comfortable being in the sick cycle. And once you reach that part where you try to look at it for what it is, and you start to forgive the other person for being as sick as they are because you know they're sick too, when you start to get there, it hurts really bad to really see things for what they are and how they've been, because you saw it all distorted for quite a long time. And it hurts to understand you didn't have a real relationship. You didn't have real love. Nothing was the way it really should have been, because there is a way that that love feels. There is a way that love is, and love is different. Love does not hit each other. Love does not torture each other. Those things just don't happen when you really love somebody. And when you start to realize those things, it makes you feel sick for wasting time and wasting energy and wasting money and wasting resources on somebody who didn't love you back. Because the truth is, they probably did try to love you, and there was probably some love there, but it just wasn't ready and it wasn't made right, and there's some problems inside both of y'all that wouldn't let it happen. So yeah, acceptance is the key. You have to accept that you are where you are and it's time to move on. And when you can do that, when you can take that time to talk about it and, definitely get some support systems and put it out there that you've been abused and you've been through trauma, you can start going through some therapy. And I think once you start to hit therapy and you start to go to like a real counselor and get really comfortable with them, that's when you can start healing and looking for maybe a new relationship or a new partner or a new friend or whatever you need to start growing, because that's when you start to grow, is when you let the past go. And I saw a post on that and I loved it, because I'm like, it's true. You really have to let it go. You have to let you being a victim go. You got to let it go, because otherwise you're never going to see yourself in the light that you're really worth. And you deserve everything in this world. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be healthy. You deserve a long, quality-ridden life. But you really have to work for it. It doesn't just come. And people will take advantage of you if you can, and it's really hard, because if you're a nice person and you want to help people, they will mess with you and they will take everything that you have. But at the end of the day, you just have to understand that you are worth more than that, and you've worked for the things that you own and the qualities that you have. Even if you don't have real tangible things that you bought, you have things inside you. You have love, you have honesty, you have respect, you have those things. And when you build up those values, you don't want to let them go for other people. And you will start to understand that you are worth all of that, and all it takes is a little bit of digging and a little bit of finding the right people to be around you. That's a big thing, is understanding how much we're worth, and that we really have to understand what we're worth without being jealous of other people, without, being snotty, and I don't know. Because there's times where I felt like crap, and I've been jealous of other people, and I've said things I didn't mean, and I've been too gossipy. Like, I get, as a girl, that's something I hated about girls, was how gossipy they are. And then I found myself in this all the time because I get wrapped in other people's drama, and that's terrible. Definitely not good for you. Carl Mosher. I just got home from a meeting, collected 30 days today. Most of my family are all using, and I want to help them, but I know I can't. How do I convince myself that there's nothing I can do and get the guilt of putting myself first out of my head? Well, first off, obviously you've probably heard this before, but you can't help anybody else unless you help yourself. Okay? So if you have to understand that putting yourself first and being selfish is the only way that you're probably going to survive this thing. And I'm going to tell you, keep going to meetings, go for another 60 days. I don't care if you don't like them or not, just keep pounding them in, because you need to go, okay? Those first 90 days are really vital. If you feel yourself slipping up or getting complacent, go back to some meetings. I know I don't always like them, but they help. They really do. It's the support system that helps. Also, as much as we love our family members, there's a healthy distance that you're going to have to keep with them. And you're just going to have to understand that the best thing you can do, being your family member that loves the rest of your family, is be a role model for them. Do the right things. Pay people back. Do everything you need to do to be a good, healthy person that's in recovery and doing the right things. And they're going to watch that, okay? Your family members are going to see that, and eventually they're going to start wanting to do it too. My family, it's funny because one would get clean, then another one, then another one, then another one, and all the cousins would kind of watch each other get clean, and then everybody else would start getting clean. So I promise you that it does rub off. It does show through. People see the change in you, and they're going to want that. They're going to want that light, and eventually they're going to come to you and say, hey, how can you help me? And at that point, you reach out to a male or female based on whatever gender they're comfortable with and say, hey, my friend Johnny or my cousin Johnny, I'm going to get him a sponsor and have him talk to somebody who's in long-term recovery who can help them go to rehab or even just get sober with them, if that's how it's going to work, You want to get them in touch with the resources. So when they're willing to talk to somebody, find somebody who's got long-term recovery, hook them up, and then maybe they're going to go to rehab, maybe they'll do something, maybe they'll just go to some meetings. But planting that seed is going to come from how you act. You are the seed that is going to plant their recovery. So the best thing I would do is just be a really good, positive example. Do not feel guilty. Don't feel guilty for loving yourself, because if you love your family, you won't feel guilty for putting yourself first, because you need to put yourself first right now. You need to be alive for them so you can help them and you can be a role model. So don't feel bad about it. You're doing a great job. Congratulations on 30 days. I remember it took me over 38 times to get 30 days. It was the hardest thing I ever went through in my life. I could not stop doing heroin, so that is an accomplishment, and I'm so proud of you, and I hope you get your 60 and your 90, and if you don't, just keep coming back. It'll be okay. Don't feel bad if you slip up. Don't feel bad. Just make sure you get your ass back in a meeting, you get another coin, and you keep trying. That's what matters about recovery. It's not the time. It's the quality of your recovery and your ability to keep getting back up and trying again, okay? So I love you. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. I'm glad you're doing well. All right, guys. I'm going to answer like 2 more questions, and I'm going to hop off this next question I'm reading. Okay. How do you deal with grief from an overdose? I don't. Not a good answer. So everybody deals with grief from an overdose differently. Obviously, I myself have experienced quite a few of them. I think I'm up to like 35 now as far as people I've known. A lot of my friends have, my boyfriend has, like everybody has. So it's becoming, unfortunately, a common thing. And at the end of the day, a lot of people do wonder, how do I deal with death and grief and all that stuff? Everybody's different. There's no wrong way of grieving. Some people go literally insane and out of their mind. And I just want to tell you that if you're that person that is going insane and out of your mind, right now it might just be your grieving process. And it might actually be helping you to get better. Sometimes you just have to let out all that sanity inside your head, and then it gets better and it calms down. But for a while, if you're holding it in, I know like the first couple months, like I was really like numb and like awkward, and I just didn't really make a lot of sense. And then I went on this big kick where I was like, oh, my sister died, so now I'm going to start a page. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to help all these people. I'm going to save everybody. That's what I turned into. And you know what? It was wonderful, and it started a lot of good things. But eventually that burned out, and then I was depressed again because I was like, shit, I can't save everybody. Shit, I'm not that perfect. Maybe I'm not even put up for this. And at one point I thought maybe I shouldn't be speaking. Maybe I shouldn't be talking to people. Maybe this isn't my niche. And I got really upset to think that. I thought maybe I'm just meant to go to work and come home. And that didn't sit well with me after a couple days. I realized that's not true. And, a couple things happened to me that were real like spiritual awakening type deals, where kind of like I got these feelings, like, no, that's not true. Like, you're meant for more than this, because I think we're all meant for more. It's not just me or you or him or her. Everybody has like a purpose in life. Like, they have a path that is really, really good for them. There's like their niche. It's something they love, they're good at, they're passionate about, and whatever that is, when you find it, because when you find it, you'll know you found it. When you find it, you're going to feel great. You're going to feel like you found the best thing you ever found, and you're going to feel like you don't want to do anything else. And that's why it's really hard for me, because when I work and stuff, my job, I love it, but I love recovery, and I love talking to people, and I love public speaking. So it feels like I'm getting pulled away from what I love to do. So obviously they say if you go to work and it feels like you're working, you don't love your job. It'll never feel like work. And you can find a job in your area of expertise. There's a lot of jobs out there, I promise you, that you can go to school or find something in what you love. And if not, maybe you just got to deal with a low income to do it. I don't know. But everybody has a way to fulfill their purpose. And I do believe that. Carl Mastrangelo. I'm 5 years clean if anyone else needs to talk as well. See, that's awesome. That is awesome. If you want, we could always do a video on YouTube if you want to do an interview, because that's a long time, and I think you should definitely tell your story as well. So March, I'm going to hit my 3.5, and that's enough for me. I'm happy with that. Pay attention to the lips. Sherry Penhollow. What do you mean pay attention to my lips? Is there something wrong with them? A little confused by that, but it's okay. Congratulations though on 5 years. That's a long time. You gotta think, like, a lot of people don't really even make it past the first couple of days. For all you guys out there that are watching this that aren't in recovery, I want to tell you that I'm happy that you support this stuff. If you are somebody who thinks that a friend should hear this, go ahead and share it to your page. I am going to start doing a lot more of this stuff. I know I've flooded your pages with the Miss Jet Set contest. Sorry about that. I was kind of hoping I could win. I had some really good plans for this. Like, I was like, okay, so if I get $50,000, I can get a building. I can put breaking chains in a building. I can get people certified as recovery advocates and get them working and doing kind of like a free thing where they talk to people for free. That was kind of like my vision, but I really don't know what it is, like, fully thought out. You know, get some yoga in there. Have some meetings a couple nights a week. Maybe do a meeting twice a week. We could even do some, like, different meetings that aren't just for recovery. They could be for, like, anxiety and depression meetings, REBT. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff I could do if I could just get a building. But obviously, I can't just get a building. As you guys know, my boyfriend is almost finished renovating his recovery house. If you guys feel like you know someone who has stuff for a house, he's going to be putting up to like 6 to 8 guys in there that are in recovery. So basically what a recovery house is, after you've completed rehab or a halfway house, you can go on to like a long-term recovery house where you can live up to a couple years. In there, sometimes Medicaid pays for it, other times you pay your rent. The rent is usually lower so you can get back on your feet, and there's multiple people in the house. So usually it's like a bigger house. You can keep up to like 8 people there. You can have your kids there, kind of live like a normal life. It's to reintegrate back into society. And while you're there, you can get jobs, you can get help with things that you need help with. You just can't use drugs and you can't drink. They will drug test you there. That is a point, holding you accountable. You'll probably be going to your outpatient and those things, which is a good thing. And you have to do things with the house. Obviously, you're going to have house meetings and people that are going to take care of like the bills and stuff like that. So it is actually really nice to get you to start working on being responsible if you're somebody who hasn't had a lot of responsibility. I remember I was in a halfway house and I loved it. Now I like have so much responsibility and I wish I would go back. But so he is going to need furniture. He's going to need like bed frames, dressers, all that stuff. So if you feel like you can help with that, go ahead and message me. I'll have his dad pick up stuff if that's the case. He's been working on it for months. It looks beautiful. It's a huge house. It's in Jamestown. I'm really proud of him for that. I didn't really realize how quick that was going to happen, and I think it's awesome that I found somebody that's kind of like interested in the same things that I am, because I haven't been in quite a long time. And as you know, I am going to be speaking at that Recovery Out Loud event. If you are going to go, it's in Indiana. I know it's kind of far, but I am going to need a group of people for Breaking Chains to kind of run my booth. So if you're interested in going, let me know so I can set you up and maybe pay you to run my booth, because I'm going to have to do that for at least some of the time, and I need a couple volunteers to help me. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else to say. Does anybody have any more questions? My cold is so terrible. I keep saying I don't want a flu shot, and then I get sick. Oh, and if anybody wants a cat, I have a cat that I can't have anymore. So that's an added bonus if you want a kitty cat. She's like 8 months old, and I love her, but she's not really mine, so I have to give her away. It's a sad situation. I'm not supposed to have animals here, so yeah, that's a situation there. But I am eventually going to move out towards Orchard Park when I take a different job, and when that happens, I will obviously have my animals out there, and things will change, and it'll be lovely, and so forth. If you want to do an interview, hit me up. I want to do more interviews with people coming up in the spring. I'm going to actually take my camera, go out to you, videotape you, so forth, whatever. But now I'm just rambling. I love you guys. Thank you. I will do more videos soon, and just hold on tight. Keep supporting what's going on. Keep supporting everybody around you and your family members and your friends. It's going to happen. I know recovery is hard. I know addiction is hard, but we're going to get through it. I'm going to speak about it a lot more. And if you need real advice, you can message me in my inbox. All right. Thank you.